When you're building your business, there's going to be times, especially I have found at the end of the day, where you may have had initially in the day, at the beginning, or maybe during a period of flow, just a sense of optimism, clarity. Maybe you had a really good client session, maybe you made a sale, maybe you closed some deal, and you have this real clear sense that where you're going and what you want is going to happen. And then other times, maybe you've had a day where you've just been dealing with admin, you've been dealing with back and forth, and you never really dropped into that flow state. Or maybe you actively had some kind of issue, or you came up against some obstacle within yourself, some part got activated that prevented you from moving forward. Maybe you have a list of things that you wanted to get done and didn't. You procrastinated. You need some kind of system to contain yourself as you are building your business as a solopreneur. You need some kind of emotional regulation system. And this is something that I never see or hear entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, especially the teachers of how to make your content, how to make your offer, how to make your dreams come true online. They never speak to the real inner game intricacies, which actually drives me crazy, because in my view and my experience, it's like 99% of the whole deal. Because you can turn on ChatGPT and get the answers to any question you might have about business now, on the external side of business. You can ask ChatGPT about a self-regulation system, of course. But I find that because ChatGPT is not a human and has never actually had to install that system into the life of a human, into the day-to-day of a human, especially one who's building a business, which is really like forging your own path in the world, it kind of falls flat. Versus if you just ask ChatGPT about, how should I structure my offer? How should I structure my landing page? How should I create a content calendar? It doesn't really matter. You can action that advice. So anyways, that's why I've started to make these videos, because to me the inner world and the inner game is everything. And it is what held me back for so long from actioning and implementing the very obvious advice that just gets repeated over and over again about how to create an online business, how to be a solopreneur. It's these inner systems. And so this specific system that I'm talking about today is really an amalgam of different parts, different tools, different things that you can put into action and apply and see like what works for you best. If you've had a day where the distance between where you are now, or so you think, and where you want to be, or where you see yourself being in your vision board is very, very great, or you feel that way, you need something to contain yourself so that doesn't get out of hand. It's kind of like speaking of being on the ocean, when there's an oil spill, they contain it, right? That's what happens in each of us at the end of a long day where we're not seeing any progress. And so what I found works best, I just went in the ocean. I do that on days that are good too. But some kind of state change, as well as really beginning to relate to yourself as though you are some kind of just young, scared, child who's out of his or her element, who hasn't eaten, who's overstimulated, how you would parent yourself, basically. Because that's who we regress to when we're building our business and we encounter the obstacles and things are not flowing like we want them to. We tend to regress. We tend to get into an emotional place. And if we allow that to get out of control, that can completely impact on our ability to do the obvious thing, the obvious set of things that will lead to results that we want. As well as the fact that if you think about the results that you really want, you essentially need to become the kind of person for whom that would be easy and simple. And that is going to be a person who is self-contained, who is able to clean up the oil spill quickly and move forward. And so state change, the way that you speak to yourself, the way you treat yourself, and if you feel guilt or shame come up around results that you have not achieved, or having had a day where you wasted your time in that part's view, just being able to step back, get outside, leave wherever you normally are, listen to a podcast, listen to something that's completely different, listen to some music, just change your state, wipe your slate clean, breath work of some kind. Because for that part whose worldview is we are failing and we are not making progress on what we want to do, and this is taking so long and I don't know if it's going to work, and the anxiety starts to bubble up, that part only knows its worldview. It can only see what it can see. It can't see the big picture that your capital S self, who is really the charioteer of your business, can see. You need to do whatever you can to inhabit the charioteer in your business, who is able to command these forces, these wild animalistic forces that are horses, and yet still drive toward the aim, which is victory. So taking on a charioteer's mindset, I guess, would be another way to say it. But it's just part of the game, and that's also why I love the game, because business, especially solopreneur business, and the way that it is absolutely exploding right now as an option for our generation. Why it's so exciting is it is actually the single greatest opportunity for individual personal growth, I guess is one way to say it, but like actually stepping into the fire and being cooked and made into something. It's so exciting because in previous generations, you could go your entire life without really stepping into the fire and being cooked by the uncertainty, by just coming up against obstacles, by needing to contain yourself, by needing to learn how to do that. The entire arc, the entire process of deciding to follow your own path and to take the value that you have and put it into the world via the vessel that is a business, that entire process, it's just a never-ending, spiraling journey of self-actualization and feedback and refinement that the market forces. Because as a solopreneur, you are the business. So you will be refined and shaped and turned into something that you already have the value, but it's like it needs to be polished. It needs to be forged. It needs to be hammered into a shape that can be actually used by people, right? And that's just exciting for me. Like that's the game. Like if you're like me and you're excited about that, then you're in the right place. Because that's what That's what I'm talking about, is just how our failures, including how we need to learn how to self-contain, over time they become these assets. We get polished and thus become a diamond to shine for others, whether it's in content or just for our family or in our offers or with our clients or what have you. So another way to say that is, if you are struggling, or if you have fear, or if you feel that your business has been frustrating you, you're in the right place. And I mean literally, because it's kind of necessary to be forged and shaped. Otherwise, you're not really that relatable. Like, you have to be forged and shaped by the trials and struggles. I had one guy make a comment on a previous video saying he had tried a bunch of different businesses. Nothing really seemed to click. Nothing really ever felt like this is it. I finally found it. And I know exactly what you mean, man. Like, I felt that for a long time. And what finally made it click was kind of twofold. I think enough, and I had done enough, and I had been shaped enough by those repeated failures or repeated feelings of, this is not yet it. I'm making some impact, or I'm making some income, but it's not like the feeling that I really want. Like, I feel that there's a certain amount of those experiences that you need to have to be shaped into something. And at the same time, there's a critical mass in my own work where I came to understand that I could wait forever to be certain, or for there to be an external thing that would help me feel that click, and it would never come if I didn't have this missing ingredient, which was really to decide that I was a certain person about my business, that I was clear. And that might sound like, what? If you're used to living from the outside in, as so many of us are. But it's really the inside out that counts. Which brings us full circle to where I started this video here today. So, the importance of self-containment, the importance of remaining as much as you can in your capital S self center that is certain and solid, even while the waves of emotion or your state is low, or you have anxiety, or you have frustration from your day, or your entire week, or your entire month or year has just been a run of losses, 0-20, there's still something inside of you that's being forged and shaped by that. And over time, that becomes your single biggest asset, because, man, like, the world is insane. And more than ever, if you are a solopreneur, whatever it is you do, we need you to hold that pole down, you know? We need you to be able to plant your flag in the ground and say, this is the embodied, slow certainty of my presence, and that is my offering. Even if you don't directly liaise with your customers or your clients, it's still an energy that's your real offering. And so that's why being able to self-contain and have that self-containment system is your first priority if you are in business on a day-to-day level and beyond. So think about your state, think about state change, think about the way that you talk to yourself, Think about your realignment rituals. Think about where you go to recenter yourself as part of your service. Think about the rituals that allow you to retune and refine your energy, because it really is energy first in life, but especially in business. So if you need help with any of this, I do work with people one-to-one. There'll be a link in the description. You can book a call. And I would be happy to help you find that self-containment so that whatever it is that you are working on in your business can just be that much easier on a day-to-day basis, even as you encounter the ups and downs. So that's all for today. I look forward to talking to you again soon.